Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
The man who allegedly opened fire inside of one of former President Donald Trump's Florida hotels several years ago made some wild statements to law enforcement in his interviews, saying he was a sex slave for Sean Diddy Combs. Well, now that federal investigators have raided two of the rapper's homes and an arrest and indictment in a sex trafficking operation could be imminent, the man's comments sound a little less crazy. We'll talk about it. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, I'm going to talk about something that I really didn't think I would. Something that when I first heard it, I actually had no idea what this was even about. So this came up during multiple times during our live Q&A shows on the Law and Crime Network when we were covering questions on the Sean Combs case. And a name kept coming up in connection with Combs, and I couldn't understand it. Jonathan Oddi. Now, that name may seem familiar to you, and I will explain why. But what I'm also going to do is try to break down and possibly debunk the connection between this man and Combs, but maybe not. Because as wild as some of his claims were, they may make sense now. We'll talk about that. The reason I say all of this is because after several bombshell lawsuits were filed against Combs, accusing him of sexual assault, physical violence, human trafficking, after federal agents raided his homes, reportedly pursuant to an ongoing sex trafficking investigation, all of these numerous videos and social media posts and old interviews and more, they've all popped up. Particularly in the last 2 weeks, people trying to make some connections between what he said or people said and these allegations. Now, to be clear, Combs has not been charged with any crimes connected to this raid, but his charges may be on the horizon and the investigation continues. There is something that surfaced. This police interrogation of a man who allegedly opened fire inside of one of former President Donald Trump's hotels, Jonathan Oddi. What is his connection to Diddy? Or should I say perceived connection to Diddy? Let me give you a little background. Now, you might remember back in 2018, a man went into the Trump National Doral Miami Hotel and Resort in the middle of the night and went on a rampage. The state attorney's office says that Jonathan Oddi fired shots inside the lobby and toward the chandelier on the ceiling, then draped a giant American flag across the hotel's front desk. He allegedly walked around breaking items like computer monitors, throwing things around the lobby. When police officers arrived and confronted him, there was a shootout. Oddi seemingly tried to make a run for it, but he had been shot in the leg. He didn't get very far. Police found him hiding. They took him into custody. Oddi was taken to the hospital with 3 gunshot wounds, 2 in one leg, 1 in the other. And while at the hospital, Oddi reportedly made several bizarre statements and asked repeatedly to speak with the FBI, Secret Service, CIA, the media. When Oddi appeared before a judge, he didn't make any kind of wild outbursts, but he seemingly admitted to committing at least one of the crimes he's charged with.
1 count of aggravated assault with a firearm, 1 count of armed burglary with a battery or an assault, 1 count of armed criminal mischief causing damages greater than $1,000, 1 count of armed grand theft, and 1 count of making a false fire alarm offense. So those are the charges. Sir, do you have any money to pay for your own private attorney?
I will request as of now that the court grants me an attorney. I do have funds to pay for my attorney, but I haven't had time to meet with him yet. So I don't know if they're going to take my case or not.
Given the serious nature of these charges, I will appoint the Public Defender's Office to represent you for this preliminary first appearance hearing. Well, it's very clear. It says surveillance footage and witness accounts corroborate that the defendant discharged a handgun multiple times at the arriving City of Doral Police Department and Miami-Dade Police Department law enforcement officers. So that, even though it doesn't specifically state 5, it does mention that there were more than, I believe, two uniformed officers, in addition to the unarmed security guard who threatened to kill as well. And there was damages greater than $1,000 at the Trump National Doral, because it says it was over $30,000. So, anything else?
Well, unclear. Well, like I said, there's unclear. There's not a number specifically listed. There could have been 1 officer on one side and 1 officer on the other, and that's officers in general, in plural. As far as that's, and I don't think I didn't see necessarily the alarm pushing, but that might.
I did push along.
It's not specifically mentioned here, although. Okay. You know, sir, everything's being recorded, just so you know. If you want to speak, it's fine. I'm happy to listen. Your attorney turned the microphone off, though. Probably a wise move.
Despite having happened so many years ago, though, Oddi's case has still not yet gone to trial. The next in-person status update at the Miami-Dade County Courthouse is scheduled for April 19th. So with all that in mind, what does this all have to do with Diddy? Well, after Oddi was released from the hospital while still wearing what appears to be a hospital gown, Oddi did interviews with law enforcement, including the Secret Service. And we have part of that interrogation. And I will tell you right now, he says some bizarre stuff, okay? After talking about various kinds of conspiracy theories, Oddi asks this one thing out of the blue.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself
Yeah.
these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people.
Okay, first thing to talk about here. The Boule is a real thing. It is the senior leadership of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, the oldest postgraduate fraternity founded by and for black men. It was a secret society in its beginning, but now has chapters all over the United States. This is an organization for black professionals already experienced in their careers, and Sean Diddy Combs is sometimes rumored to have been a member of Sigma Pi Phi, but no indication that he is.
That was 2018. Jonathan Oddi was giving a testimony those days whereby he exposed Diddy and that this Jonathan was a SEX slave of Diddy. And he alleged that those FOs of Diddy were taking place those days. Now, many guys dismissed Jonathan Oddi's testimony in 2018. But now in the ongoing Diddy's case, which is going on right now, most of Jonathan's claims are being proven right. So Jonathan made many claims. He mentioned Obama, but I'll not go deep on that. But the one that got my attention, he also said that Tupac Shakur is alive and is in Cuba. So if Jonathan's claims on Diddy are being proven true, it means that most likely even the one about Tupac also is true. And that Tupac is really alive and is in Cuba. So we live in a world where so many things are happening, but we are being deceived. We live in a world of deception, where the elites, they do many things and people are lied to. So try to imagine that Tupac is alive and is in Cuba. The whole world mourned for Tupac. I wonder if even Biggie also is alive. So this Jonathan said that Tupac is alive. Now, most of his claims about Diddy and the SEX parties, they are being revealed today. So the case is going on Diddy, and even next week, many other witnesses will come and testify. This ending week, Cassie, who was Diddy's girlfriend, testified in a very bombshell testimony. So we are in a time of revelation, exposure in this world. Many of the past events of the elites are being exposed. So even Diddy himself was one of the elites. And I suspect that Diddy was just a front. And I think because he was becoming too much, so the elites have decided to do away with him. Just like they did with Epstein some years back. So Diddy also they do away with him so that he does not expose everybody. So the case is going on, but I'm waiting to see if one day Tupac will come back in the US. Because someone like Jonathan Oddi, that SEX slave, such people, he has got nothing to gain by lying. Says like he has reached his end. In 2018, when he was testifying, he had reached his end and he was high. People who are high, sometimes they tend to say the truth. Just like those who are drunk tend to say the truth. So try to imagine if Jonathan's, all of his claims are true. It will be shocking. Very shocking. So you're in a time of exposure and many things are happening. Truth is being revealed. Yeah.